Letter from Mr. President. Dear distinguished Senate President, Environmental Impact Assessment Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2018. I forward herewith for your kind consideration and reenactment the Environmental Impact Assessment Bill 2018 to repeal the EIA Cap E12 laws of the Federation 2004. It is my hope that the Senate will consider and pass the bill in the usual expeditious manner. Please accept, distinguished Senate President, the assurances of my highest consideration. Yours sincerely, Muhammadu Buhari. Leader of the Senate. Point of orders, Deputy Senate President.
Your Excellency, distinguished colleagues, I come under Order 42 of our standing rules and Order 52. Order 42 is in respect of matter of urgent national importance. In summary, I've mentioned these matters whereby rules to the Senate President, and Order 52, I'll now seek leave so that this matter be taken today and expeditiously. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, this motion is in respect of the killing of an aid worker, Hawa Liman, by the Boko Haram insurgency.
Distinguished colleagues, the Deputy Senate President have come under 42 and 52. According to our rules, I need the leave of our members for us to consider this motion. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Go ahead, DSP.
Thank you, distinguished colleagues. You recall that some few weeks ago, Boko Haram issued a threat that they were going to kill Liman, who volunteered herself to work with the International Committee of Red Cross, ICRC, in the northeast of Nigeria. While working in that capacity, she was abducted in Borno State, and yesterday, distinguished colleagues, she was forced to kneel down, her hands were tied behind her, and she was shot at very close range. She was a student and left the pursuit of her career to serve humanity under the Red Cross. It was in line of this service that she met her untimely death. You also recall that one of our own colleagues was also killed in September in similar circumstance. She too, an aid worker. And you also recall that last week, while we were debating the FCT budget, there were a lot of contributions regarding the security in FCT. And yesterday, I'm sure you are aware, a young lady, Anita, was killed by the police. And the story of these killings cannot be isolated. We have similar killings going on all over the country, and we're indeed very worried. But it's more worrisome when we have people who, instead of going about chasing their selfish interests, decides to help humanity with their time and their expertise. We owe them the responsibility of protecting them while they do this work, and now that they are dead, we also owe them more responsibility of making sure that they are not dying in vain. And I believe that we can do more in making sure that those responsible for their death will pay the supreme price. They will never go unpunished. So on this note, distinguished colleagues, I'm sure a lot will have something to say, but let me send my condolences to the families of these young girls who died serving our country and who died in their prime in a situation where we as a nation have not been able to provide sufficient security for our citizens and inhabitants. And it will continue to even sound like broken record if we say that the solution to this security in this country is the decentralization of our police system, so that we'll be able to have sufficient police, well equipped and trained to protect our people. Until we do that, we'll continue to have this kind of ugly situation. And I want to appeal to the government and the people of Nigeria, leaders of this country, to begin to reconsider our position on the issue of decentralizing our police. A situation where we have a centralized police for everybody cannot work in a federal system of government. It has never worked in any place and it will not work in Nigeria. We cannot be toying with the lives of our citizens. And the area will begin to deal with this better for us, because otherwise more people will die. So I just want to say that this should be a wake-up call for us as a country to begin to think on how we'll be able to protect the lives and properties of Nigeria, because that's the primary purpose of government. The government is not just the executive, we are part of government. So we have to work with the government, the executive, and indeed the judiciary to find a lasting solution to the situation where Nigerians die in their numbers every day in circumstances that are completely unfortunate. So I'm on with the families, I'm on with the rest of Nigerians, the international community, over the death of this young girl. And we believe that her death should not be dismissed. We have to do something about this. So one of our prayers is that this time, instead of observing 1 minute silence, we should be able to observe 2 minutes silence over the death of these young people. And I believe that we have to send our condolences and heartfelt sympathy to their families and of course to the international community and the rest of mankind. So I so move.
Senator Barrow.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Barrow Jibrin, Republican Lord. Mr. President, I stand to align myself and to also go with the Deputy Senate President in condoling the whole nation and the family as well as the loved ones of this young woman, Anita Akapsi, who was murdered by the Boko Haram, insurgents. The Red Cross woman, sorry. Mr. President, this is really worrisome. It's really painful. For some time now, we've been commending our security agencies for doing a good job in arresting the situation that we find ourselves since 2003 to date by degrading the Boko Haram insurgents and also making sure that all those that were adopted by them, most of them were rescued. And we thought the same thing would be done this time around, but something went wrong somewhere. What I want to say is this, that the security agents should not rest on its laurels. They should not be complacent and think that the war has been won already. They should always think that there's more to do with respect to fighting the Boko Haram insurgents. We know this problem has been lingering for several years now, and the security agencies have done very well in dealing with them. Let them not rest on their hours, let them be up and doing to make sure that they clear them completely. Being complacent will make them to regroup and then continue to attack, kill and maim innocent Nigerians. They should remain strong, they should remain, they are doing, men and women in uniform are doing a great job. They should continue what they are doing, because if they think that the war has been won, certainly give the room for these insurgents to regroup and then continue to attack and kill our people. I so submit, Mr. President, and I further control the families and friends of these innocent Nigerians that was killed. Thank you.
Yes, Senator Dinamilai.
Mr. President, my very respected colleagues, Dino Milai, Kogi West. Mr. President, I am yet pained to address us once again this morning in the course of our nation's history. Mr. President, like the Deputy President of the Senate said, the ultimate purpose of government is the security and welfare of the citizens. Unfortunately, Mr. President, there is no welfare and there is no security. A situation where a group of persons or group of terrorists will carry out a threat, and all the security agencies of this country allow this threat not only to be made, but allow the threat to be carried out, automatically emphasize a no security situation in our nation. Boko Haram gave notice of threats. They allowed the threat date to expire and carried out their threats. I then begin to ask, what is the function of our security agencies? Mr. President, in civilized lands of the world, this calls for a national attention. It calls for an emergency where threats will be issued and carried out unabated. The life of a glooming young woman have just been unceremoniously terminated. Mr. President, 2 days ago, a young Nigerian who lived alive in England and only relocated to Nigeria 1 month ago was also killed here in Maitama Junction. Just a few months ago, Mr. President, a youth corps member, having served this nation, on the day she ended her youth corps service, was also killed by the Nigerian police. This is becoming one too many, Mr. President. And as a Senate, it is beyond standing up and giving 1 minute silence. It should be beyond standing up and paying condolence visits. It should be a time to invite the police why these killings of innocent Nigerians by happy trigger policemen. Only rational reason to this, Mr. President, is either these policemen they are on tramadol or on other cheap drugs. That is the only explanation why an innocent Nigerian who is harmless will just be killed in cold blood. Mr. President, there is a need to carry out drug audits on all Nigerian policemen. They cannot continue to end the life of promising Nigerians. And all we do as a Senate is to give 1 minute silence and then pay condolence visits. Mr. President, this should stop. The Senate must come out strong on this. Invite the heads of security agencies, including the Inspector General of Police, and then ask why this continued insecurity in our land. Mr. President, the life of one Nigerian is too important to be toyed with. And the seriousness with which our government take these killings is highly discouraging. Mr. President, what we call our citizens is what the whole world would call us. America believes in citizen diplomacy. We should start showing that the life of every Nigerian matter just like the life of the president or the vice president or senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Until we do that, Mr. President, we are craving and building a dangerous precedent where even our own lives will not be safe. Thank you.
We'll go to the prayer then. Prayer 1, observe 2 minutes silence in honor of the deceased. Those in favor of prayer 1 say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Prayer 2, extend condolence to the families of deceased and the international community in which one of the deceased served. Those in favor of prayer 2 say aye. Those against say nay. As I have it. Additional prayer, yes, Senator Dino Melai.
Mr. President, my colleagues, Dino Melai, Kogi, West, my additional prayer is that we invite the Commissioner of Police, the Inspector General of Police on these unceremonious killings, especially in the FCT. Or refer them, or the relevant committee of the Senate, invite them.
Distinguished colleagues, any other additional prayer? Yes, Senator Atai. Thank you. So, additional prayer, Senator Ashafa.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Benga Shafa, representing Lagos East. Additional prayers. The federal government, through the security agencies, must immediately ensure that it does whatever is necessary to guarantee the freedom of both Leah Sharibu and the last surviving ICRC volunteer that are currently in captivity of Boko Haram.
Any seconder? Okay, distinguished colleagues, can we rise up the yes, Senator Nemekana.
I rise to second the amendment ably moved by Senator additional prayer moved by Senator Ashafa.
What is the additional prayer? What is the prayer?
That the federal government, through the security agency, must immediately ensure that it does whatever necessary to guarantee the freedom of both the Shaibu and other surviving RCRC members. No, that's
Additional prayer that the federal government, through its security agencies, to do what is necessary to guarantee the freedom of which other one? That's the only one, yes? Yeah. Yes, Shabi, that's all. And then the other CR members come to. Those in favor of this additional prayer say aye. Those against say nay. Yes, have it. If we can stand up, raise for the 2 minute silence. Okay. May agent so rest in perfect peace. Amen. Before distinguished colleagues, I think irrespective of the motion we've taken, and I believe our committees anyway, in line of their own orders, our committees on security and defense can also, as part of their responsibilities, please engage with the security agencies to find out exactly if there are other issues that need to be done in order to prevent it. I think that can be done by those committees irrespective of this motion. So the committees on intelligence and defense should also meet with the head of security agencies there and find out if there are specific issues that need to be addressed. And if anything comes out of that, you should please present a report for us for debate if there's anything we need to do in the Senate here to prevent these kind of things happening, because it has serious ramifications regards international agencies sending their workers here if we cannot provide security for the workers. So I want our committees to take this up. Yeah, Mr. Jimmy.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I come under Order 42, matter of urgent public importance. And I read, Mr. President, the matter for discussion shall, if possible, be referred to the President of the Senate before commencement of the day's sitting, and the President of the Senate shall refuse to allow the claim unless he is satisfied that the matter is definite and urgent. Mr. President, today I bring before you and my dear colleagues the issue on this day newspaper. It's about the $3.5 billion budget recovery fund being used by the NNPC.
Distinguished colleagues, my entity has come on Order 42 and 52, and I must take the leave of our members for us to take this motion. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Carry on, Senator Uju.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, after the gory details of the last debate on the unwanted killings of our people, I bring before you another issue which is of urgent national importance, and it is in this day newspaper. It has to do with the $3.5 billion earmarked as subsidy recovery fund by the NNPC. Mr. President, since 1999, there has always been a budget for subsidy, but this has been jettisoned by the current government, which leaves this administration in a very, very dire strait. What is happening now is that there is a fund named as Subsidy Recovery Fund, which is being managed only by two individuals of the NNPC, that is the Managing Director and the Executive Director of Finance. This fund is too huge for two people to manage. And right now, listen. Right now, Mr. President, the $3.5 billion, the $3.5 billion, if you listen, is she addressing you? Mr. President, the $3.5 billion is being managed by just two individuals of the NNPC. And this fund is too huge to be managed without appropriation and recourse to any known law of the land. Be reminded, Mr. President, that during your remarks after the passage of the budget, you mentioned that there should be a budget. You mentioned that there should be a budget for subsidy, and that it should be brought before the National Assembly. That has not been done. Right now, what has happened is that by the report in today's newspaper, it is almost certain that the $3.5 billion is slush fund, which is just being managed by two individuals, and that is not correct. Mr. President, I want to urge the Senate to cost the downstream committee, which is Senator Marafa, who is already complaining, to compel the NNPC to come before the committee and explain why this should be so and what has happened to the funds that have been used so far, and the new terminology that is now being used under recovery rather than subsidy approval. Thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, I think I would want to suggest that in light of the number of the issues before us, where we're talking about a subsidy of almost $3.5 billion, which, if you remember when we did pass the budget, I said from here that there was need for the executive to bring before us a fuel subsidy item. This has always been the practice, that this money is too huge for it not to be appropriated. I think in light of the enormity of this, I want to suggest, if we agree, that we direct that the leader with the chairman, the committee on the downstream, should urgently summon those in MNPC who are responsible, look into the matter and come back to us within maximum 4 days by next week with a report that we can all debate. Because anything we say here, I don't want to be speculative. It is, and I don't want to be speculated, it becomes partisan. Let us go by facts so that our contributions are not seen to be partisan. This matter is too serious for us to treat it that way. A lot of us have been around enough to know how this matter should have been treated. And it has got to a level now where we're talking about $3.8 billion. It's not a small amount of money. So if the leave of my colleague will accept, we direct the leader, please, matter of fact, you have been busy. We didn't even know. I thought you were doing primary. I thought you were doing primaries. No, it's not ad hoc committee. It is, see that I've not recognized you. I've not recognized you. That the leader in and with the chairman of the that's what I'm saying. He has primaries to any moment now to look into this matter and report to us by next week. Any Senator, you may, yeah.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, let us be taking matters as it comes before the Senate very seriously, because issues like this, when raised, should be looked at seriously. I think the committee, I don't want to be hard on them, but the committee has the responsibility of oversight. And when all these things happen, the committee is supposed to know. So I'm suggesting that Senator Marafa, being the chairman of the committee, should be out of this, and the committee members too. The Senate leader and other members of the Senate should look at this thing objectively, as you said, as a non-partisan basis. Because by the time you have such amount of money stuck somewhere and nobody said anything about it, it calls for more questions. I'm suggesting that the leader, okay, as distinguished Senator Abubakar Abba said, not me, that the committee might have compromised. That's what he said. So I think it's good.
Separate committee.
No, he said
Separate committee.
that we should have a separate committee to look at this thing. And as you said, it's non-partisan.
I think if I can get the general mood of the chambers is that we set up an ad hoc committee led by the leader to look into this matter. Thank you. Yes, point of order.
Mr. President, my respected colleagues, Dino Melai, Kogi West. Mr. President, I speak this morning from Order 14 of the Rules of the Senate. If I have the nod of the President, may I read?
Go ahead.
And by members of the Senate individually, conferred by legislative houses, powers and privileges Act, Cap 208, Laws of the Federation 1990, and other status, or by practice, precedent, usage, and customs. Whenever a matter of privilege arises, it shall be taken up immediately. Mr. President, my very, very distinguished colleagues, I want to bring to the notice of the Nigerian Senate that I traveled on Thursday to my constituency. And Mr. President, I had a stopover in Kogi local government. Specifically, I stopped at Gegubeki. I also had a meeting in Kotonkarfi. I proceeded to Lokoja, where I had a meeting in GRA in Lokoja. And after I completed my visit to my party faithfuls in Lokoja, I proceeded, Mr. President, to my hometown, where teeming supporters of the People's Democratic Party welcomed me. Mr. President, at about 7:30, I got an intel that the governor of Kogi State, through his ADC, have organized SARS men and some other dangerous individuals to come and assassinate me. Mr. President, I left my house at about 8 in the night. Lo and behold, Mr. President, at about 1 a.m., one white Hilux and 2 truckloads of SARS men landed my residence and invaded the entire residence in Aito-Rugbede in Kogi State. Mr. President, these fierce-looking men, some of them, most of them, with their faces covered, started shooting sporadically. And when they found out that I was not there, they returned to Lokoja at about 3 a.m. Mr. President, I quickly tweeted and mentioned the names of those who led that operation. The operation was led by the OC SARS Kogi State, the 2 IC SARS Kogi State, and 2 IC Mopol. And immediately I mentioned these names, and I told them I had a profound evidence that that took place. The Commissioner of Police in Kogi State was forced the following day, sir, to address a press conference where he admitted that they visited and invaded my house at 1 a.m. And not that the visit to my house at 1 a.m. was not to assassinate me, that it was to arrest me over an alleged offense I committed, according to him, on the 19th of July. Mr. President, between 19th of July and now, my house is known to people. I have visited Kogi State 6 times between 19th and now. I was in Lokoja, the capital of Kogi State, for more than 2-3 hours. They did not arrest me, only to come to my house at the unholy hours of 1 a.m. I am bringing this, Mr. President, to the notice of the Senate that this will make it the 5th time that the Kogi State government, through using the police, are trying to assassinate me. I have written all relevant agencies of government, including the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, but because my privilege and my life is at risk, not because I am afraid, Mr. President, because I am not killable by man. I am a child of God and my life is hid in his bosom. I've continually said, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, because I have a God who will always rescue me. But I want the Senate to take note of this continuous attack and attempt to eliminate me in order for the governor to gain political fortunes. Mr. President, an injury to one is an injury to all. I'm bringing this so that the Senate will take notice of this threat and do the needful. Mr. President, you personally wrote to the IG, and this Senate took a resolution that my security details, policemen, be restored. Since June the 22nd, Mr. President, they have been withdrawn. The IG refused to obey the order of the resolution of this Senate. As I speak to you, since April, I have no single security, I have no policeman, and my life is exposed. Secondly, Mr. President, there's an order of court 3 months ago order of a competent court of law directing the IG to release my international passport. Mr. President, more than 3 months after, the IG have refused to release my international passport despite a court order. And if an agency of government that is supposed to maintain law and order will refuse to obey the orders of court, then it means we are in a banana republic or if Nigeria is a pariah state. I'm asking the Senate, who is the custodian of our laws, to please compel the Nigerian police to dissociate themselves from being politicized by the governor of Kogi State and to obey the court order asking them to release my international passports. Mr. President, these are my prayers before the Senate. Democracy will continue to be government of the people, by the people, and for the people, and not as practiced today in Nigeria. I thank you, my colleagues, for your understanding. I thank you for listening.
Yes, Senator.
Well, we need to round it up. I think, Mr. President, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I think this Kwara issue is becoming, sorry, this Kogi issue, no, Kogi, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I think this Kogi issue is becoming an albatross for us all. And I believe we need to do something comprehensive about it. Mr. President, I want to suggest that the leadership, the entire leadership of this Senate, sit together and find a lasting solution to this Kogi problem, because we cannot continue this way. I believe the time is right for you to put that team together to meet with the IG and everyone involved so that we can put it to rest once and for all. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Senator Ujimi. I think Senator Dino has captured it by saying must take the position that an injury to one is an injury to all of us, and that the issues here as regards the threat to his life are real, and we must see that steps have been taken to address it. So I think also in line with your suggestion, we'll give the leader another responsibility today to look into this matter along with the chairman police and find a way how we can address the concern of the leader of the Senate to lead members from part of leadership and also the chairman of police to engage with the IG in addressing this issue of Kogi and also the security as it concerns one of our colleagues. And this is what unless anybody has any addition to that. Yes, DSP.
Well, you've ruled on this, just on a technical point of view, because this is a judicial matter, and the matter is in court, and there are processes and procedures, matters such as this. They make the makers of our constitution and then the framers of our laws, they anticipate matters such as this, and they also have provided a solution. And I think that it is also incumbent, in addition to what we are saying here, it's incumbent on Dino and his lawyers to go and bring committal proceedings against the General Police. He can be jailed if he refuses to obey court order. So they need to also file an action to commit him to prison if he doesn't bring the passport. So these are judicial remedies that are also available to him, which they need to explore as well.
Leader, let me keep to the areas where I believe we can find a solution that is that covers not only Kogi, but we can start with Kogi as maybe other states too, where we have these similar problems, to see how we can address this. I think, don't forget, before now the IG had hidden under the fact that the Senate did not have the right to summon. I think after that case has been dismissed in court now, at least it creates an avenue for us to engage. It doesn't have to be here in the chambers, and the Senate leader can call for that meeting under his leadership and find and address some of these issues that are needing a lot of explanation. And while we are doing that, there are two other issues I think we need to. The last time, if you remember, when this young lady was killed here in Abuja, we directed the Senate Committee on Health to investigate and find out what happened that led to how she died. I don't think the chairman Senate Committee on Health is not here, but I would like that also if you can bring that report next week, so that also seen as some of the resolutions we take here, which we demand for action that we see on our own part. So next week, if you can please take that report regarding the young lady that died, and then thirdly, that while you are also discussing the issue of Kogi with the IG, you can also take up the issue of the young lady also, which I think the police themselves took some action on, but so that we can report back to us to know what has been the final decision taken as regards to the young lady, the young youth couple that came to Nigeria that died, and we took a resolution on it. So these are the things that, leader, if you can report back to us on next. Yes, Senator Ndume.
Mr. President, even though you've closed the case, I want to suggest that some of these issues, when they come up and they report to you, the leadership should see what they can do first before we bring it to the plenary, because it seems that some of these issues that come up are very personal. They are personal, like the case of Kogi, for example. It's a personality clash between Dino, and when we bring it to the plenary here, everybody will be trying to defend his position, and it may not help the matter. But I think if with the leadership takes this matter before bringing it to the plenary, then I think we may be able to succeed more, because we are having more and more and more of these issues, and everybody is trying to defend his position when it becomes public. I think we may achieve more if you personally, with the leadership, get involved into solving these problems.
All right, thank you. It's noted. Leader of the Senate. Senator Marafa, point of order.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Order what?
Let me greet you now. Let me greet Una first. Thank you. Okay, if you don't want my greeting, thank you, Mr. President. I come order. Yes, I will draw my greetings to all of you. 53, 7, and 8, Mr. President. And with your permission, I read.
Read.
Mr. President, Order 53, 7, and 8. Order 53, 7 said it shall be out of order to use offensive and insulting language on a colleague. And Order 8 says that no senator shall impute proper motives to any other senator. Mr. President, I'm referring to the matter that was just laid to rest, that was raised by my distinguished colleague, Senator Olijimi. Mr. President, I have no problem if we are even asked as a committee of downstream to step aside totally, or if it is the wish of the committee of selection that is responsible for appointing people into various committees, that committee of downstream be dissolved today. I have no problem with that, Mr. President. I equally have no problem with the submissions of my colleague Senator Ali Ndume, but I have serious exceptions when he said that the committee compromised. I take serious exception to that one. Mr. President, let it be on record that this Senate ordered the investigation of this subsidy matter, and in your wise counsel, you splitted this issue into two, giving the committee of public accounts to look into this issue of subsidy, while the downstream sector was given the responsibility of looking into the volumes and so on of this same matter. Mr. President, now for somebody to come now and say that two people, with due respect to my colleagues, are managing, subsidy program, I don't think that is correct. And equally wicked is the assertion that the committee compromised. I take serious exception of here on this floor. Let
all these committees, including the ones that were headed by some people before now, be subjected to scrutiny. I have no problem with that. But for this Senate to now make another ad hoc committee to look into issues of subsidy, to me it is like some people are looking for campaign money. And I don't think that's the best way to get it. This is a PD.
No. Senator Marafa, listen to yourself. Senator Marafa, listen to yourself. You came on order, listen to yourself. You came on order 53, 7 and 8. The same offense, you same thing you've come up on. You yourself are now standing up to use the same offensive word against your colleagues. Your matter was going very well. You just used that to spoil your own matter. So let me rule first. No, or then you withdraw, or you withdraw. No, withdraw. You have to withdraw. You have to first withdraw. Withdraw. If you want to continue, first not okay. First withdraw what you have just said.
Yes, Mr. President, let him first of all withdraw his own. No, sir. No, sir. Sir, you are the leader in place. When I am accused and my members are accused.
That is why I allowed you that. Before you do that, you are the one that has the floor. So first, this class statement you've done, which first withdraw that, then I'm going to rule on the issue that you brought up.
Thank you, Mr. President. On your wise counsel and advice, I withdraw the assertion that some people are looking for campaign money. But let me say, yes, whatever you want me to do, but what is good for the goose should be good for the gander. When these people accused me and my whole committee, everybody was silent. Mr. President, the resolution we have just taken.
Okay, let me rule on the accusation. Now you said you withdraw your own, so let me now. Okay, now let me now rule on that. Yes. They will come back to you.
And
Senator, let me give you. I'll come back on it. Yeah, first, I'll come back to you. Yes, Senator Ndume, I think you wanted to make some clarification.
Thank you, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues. I have respect for every senator here, and there is nothing personal. My suggestion was a very honest one. If Kabiru takes offense on that, the offense should go to my senior, Senator Bukar Abba, because I reported. I said I reported. Sir, I reported, and I told you. When I was speaking, Senator Bukar Abba said the committee might have compromised, and I reported the same. So I don't know where my own problem.
All right. Okay. All right. The distinguished Senator Marafa, I think that it is clear that there was no. Senator Bukaba, nobody took, because he did not get up to say it. There's nowhere in the records. No, Senator. But he has now said that. Okay, Senator Ndume, can you be just wait? Senator Ndume, yeah.
Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, distinguished Senator Bukar Abba Ibrahim made it easy for me. I asked him now whether to apologize. He said yes, so I apologize.
Okay, so the matter is put aside. All right, thank you. Yes. Now, let me rule the second matter. Senator Marafa, sit down. The second matter, let me rule. Senator Marafa, no, you have. Because the second matter, I've already ruled on it and we have moved to another subject matter. So we cannot rule on that. Let's make progress. Yes. Point of order, Senator Dino. I've ruled on it. We've already ruled on that matter. We've ruled on the matter to say that leader should form a committee to look into. You are not taking us back. You cannot take us back. We've ruled on it. Senator Dino Milai.
Mr. President, my name is Dino Milai, Kogi West. Mr. President, while I will read Order 53.6, I also want to say, Mr. President, that this is a responsible Senate, and we are all governed by these rules. A situation where a matter has been decided, and a senator who understands the rules of the Senate will revisit that matter. And even when the gavel has gone down and he was asked to sit down, he will hold the entire Senate to ransom. Should not be encouraged on this floor. We are all senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and our rules does not respect in discipline on the floor of the Senate. We are being watched by children. We are being watched by the entire society. When we come to the Senate, the rule said we must conduct ourselves in the best of manners. Where the presiding officer will continue to ask the senator to sit down, and the senator is still on his feet, is completely unruly. 53.6, Mr. President said, it shall be out of order to attempt to reconsider any specific question upon which the Senate comes to a conclusion during the current session, except upon a substantive motion for recession. It is very clear, Mr. Senate. So we must, as Senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, respect ourselves and act in a dignified manner. Every one of us, if we behave in this manner, there will be chaos in this Senate. So we should all respect ourselves and be senators.
Your point of order is sustained, and I'm sure Senator Marafa knows that, like most of us. Let us try, and we have left this matter, and let us move forward. Leader of the Senate.
Point of order. Senator, point of order. Point of order.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, Mr. President, let me thank the Senate for nominating me to lead the ad hoc committee. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I am using my privilege to decline to serve on that committee. I hold my integrity very dearly. I have worked for it over the years, and I don't want my integrity rubbished. Therefore, I decline. But let me also advise us that this Senate is representative of Nigeria. We are here on behalf of all Nigerians. What we do and how we conduct ourselves here is a big deal. Matters not only to us, but to those we represent. I will therefore advise that no matter how strongly and deeply we feel about any issue, please, let's conduct ourselves with that respect that we are known for. This is the highest lawmaking body in Nigeria. To do otherwise is to take our work here lightly. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, thank you for the confidence, but I'm not going to serve on this committee.
Yeah, Deputy Senate President.
Sorry, distinguished colleagues, why associate myself with most of the things said by the leader? But I think he was so angry that he didn't even listen to what happened. Nobody has made him the chairman of the ad hoc committee. You said himself and Mr. Rafa will look into the matter, and then Dume suggested an ad hoc committee. Then you ruled the ad hoc committee will be set up. You didn't say he's going to be the chairman. So his withdrawal from the job has not been offered. So I think that what we do is that leader need to calm down. We will still set up the ad hoc committee, and he will be excused. I think the correct one, he should be excused from the committee, not that he's withdrawing because he has not been given the job.
Well, leader, let me be blunt with you as well. You cannot excuse yourself from rule of leadership. Why I directed or decided that you should be there, this matter is a matter that is very, very weighty. And as we said earlier on this morning, this matter is something that needs to be looked at in a non-partisan manner. And I said that the best way to do that is under the leader of the Senate. I don't want something that is partisan in this matter. We cannot be running a figure of $3.8 billion and we do not do anything decisive about it. We have already started the process. Public accounts, I'm sure I've done a lot of work on it. Manafa has done it, but it needs to be guided and taken safely to a point of where it needs to be done. So let the committee do it. By the end of the day, before it comes back to us, it needs to be guided at your level of leadership. Interact with the agencies and guide us properly to be able to tell us that, listen, these are the facts, so that we don't come here and speculate. So I want to appeal to you that let the committees under your guidance, they will do their work. Let it come to you, and then at the end of the day, you present it to us. Because when you speak and talk, we know that what you are saying are facts, they are real, they are authentic, and it's not partisan. So I'm afraid that part of responsibility too is that yes, people will make this, but the matter is too serious for us. When we started talking about this thing, it was only about $1 billion. Now the thing is growing every day, and I think that as a Senate, we need to do that. So the committees that are responsible for it, please, let us remove all these comments. This matter is too serious. Let us do it professionally, and let us put this matter to rest. Very, very important, because once we are divided like this, the agencies will continue doing as they wish, and I think that's not in the interest of Nigerians.
Thank you, Your Excellency, my distinguished colleagues. My name is Senator T.A.O.G. Ochendo. I represent Abia Central. Your Excellency, I want to come under Order 42, and if you permit, let me read.
Go ahead.
Is it? Okay. The matter for discussion shall, if possible, be referred to the President of the Senate before commencement of the day's sitting. And the President of the Senate shall refuse to allow the claim unless he is satisfied that the matter is definite and urgent. Excellency, I want to bring to the notice of my colleagues of a disaster that happened in my constituency, Osisioma local government area, that houses a depot. Last weekend, there was fuel leakage on NNPC pipeline, which resulted in a very serious outbreak of fire that consumed, as at yesterday, 150 people, destroyed houses, economic crops, and the environment entirely was polluted. I just want to bring it to your notice so that you permit me, by tomorrow, the next...
Distinguished colleagues, Senator T.O.G. came on Order 42, and in line with our rules, I need the leave of our colleagues so that this matter can be taken the next legislative day. Those in favor say aye. Those against nay. The ayes have it. Matter is for the next legislative day to bring the substantive motion. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the first business of the day is the presentation of the report of the Committee on INEC on the Independent National Electoral Commission Act 2010 Amendment Bill 2018. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Suleiman Nazif, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the Senate to receive the report.
Senator Nazif.
Thank you, Mr. President, and my highly respected colleagues. Senator Suleiman Nazif Bauchino. Mr. President, I move that the Senate do receive the report of the Committee on INEC
on the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC Act 2010 Amendment Bill 2018 SB 699 to be laid. I so move.
Senator Rozoko.
Rosoko, Cross River North. I rise to second the motion that the Senate do receive the report of the Committee on INEC on the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC Act 2010 Amendment Bill 2018. I so move.
Those in favor that the Senate do receive the report of the Commission on INEC on the Independent National Electoral Commission Act 2010 Amendment Bill 2018 SB 699. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Nazir, come and lay the bill. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the second business of the day is the presentation of the report of the Committee on Finance on the urgent need to review the excise tariff increment in order to save local distillers of beverages from looming extinction. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator John Eno, Chairman of the Committee, to move the motion for the Senate to receive the report. In the absence of Senator John Eno, the Chairman, the Vice Chairman, Senator Omar Ibrahim Kurfi, will present the report.
Senator Kurfi.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues. Once name, my name is Omar Ibrahim Kurfi, representing the Central. I rise to move that the Senate do receive the Committee report on Finance on the urgent need to review the exercise tariff increment in order to save local distillers of beverages from looming extension. I so move, sir.
Senator Ledani.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my name is Joshua Lidani, representing Gombe South. I rise to second the motion moved by Senator Kurfi on the urgent need to review the excise tariff increments to be laid. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate do receive the report of the Committee on Finance on the urgent need to review the excise tariff increment in order to save local distillers of beverages from looming extinction. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Senator Kurfi, come and lay the report. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the third business of the day is the presentation of the report of the Committee on Local and Foreign Debts on the request by Mr. President CNC for approval on the new external raising of USD $2.786 billion from the International Capital Market approved in the 2018 Appropriation Act, and the external capital raising of USD $82.54 million to refinance the balance of USD $500 million matured Eurobond in the international capital market. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Shehu Sani, Chairman of the Committee, to move the motion for the Senate to receive the report.
Senator Shehu Sani.
Mr. President, I stand as Shehu Sani to move that the Senate do receive the report on the implementation of the new external capital raising of $2.786 billion from the International Capital Market approved in the 2018 Appropriation Act, and the external capital raising of $82.54 million to refinance the balance of the $500 million matured Eurobond in the international capital market. I so move.
Senator Samayon.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, Samayon Wimo East. I rise to second the motion ably moved by Senator Shehu Sani that the Senate do receive the committee report on the local and foreign debts. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate receive reports of the Committee on Local and Foreign Debt on the implementation of the new external capital raising of $2.786 billion from the international capital market approved in 2018 Appropriation Act and the external capital raising of $28.54 million to refinance the balance of the $500 million matured Eurobond in the international capital market. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Shehu Sani, come and lay the report. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the first order of the day is a motion standing in my name on the recommittal of the Disability Bill 2018. Mr. President, with your permission, I wish to move the motion. Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the Senate recalls that the Disability Bill 2018 was passed by the Senate and the House of Representatives and transmitted to the Clerk, National Assembly for further legislative action. The Senate observes that the Directorate of Legal Services scrutinized the bill in line with its mandate and raised fundamental issues that needed to be addressed before the bill could be transmitted for presidential assent. The Senate notes that observations of the Directorate of Legal Services have been communicated to the Senate for further legislative action. Accordingly, the Senate resolves to refer the bill to the conference committee that had hitherto worked on the bill. I so move, Mr. President. PDP.
Senator Duda.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion ably moved by the Senate leader. I so second. Thank you.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that we do refer the bill to the conference committee for more legislative work, say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Yeah, the conference committee should please look into this. And I think while we're doing this, distinguished colleagues, I also want us to take a position on this, that any observations that is meant to be done by the Director of Legal Services should be done before those reports are laid for consideration for third reading. I think this is not good for after it has gone through conference committee meeting work and then legal services. So if we agree, I'm going to rule that henceforth going forward, all the Director of Legal Services must scrutinize the bill after it's been completed at the committee level before we pass for third reading. It's not after we have passed for third reading and it has gone to conference committee, about to be transmitted to Mr. President, then the legal services now begin to make the observation. So I'm going to rule, if I'll put the question, if we agree that we amend our procedures to ensure that Director of Legal Services, once the report has been completed and is now meant to go for third reading, whatever their scrutiny should be done at that point, not afterwards. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate, please ensure that that is documented and communicated to Director of Legal Services. And so this, as you remember, the disability bill, last week had a protest, so can we ensure that the conference committee brings this back to us next week so that we can transmit to Mr. President? Who is the chairman who is Judiciary, is it? Who? Obina, okay, he's not here. Who is his vice? Well, if the clerk of the Senate, if you can please get across to him, to the chairman of sports. So, is he in the? Can somebody fetch him out, get him out of there for me, please? Chairman Sports, we have just referred the disability bill back to the conference committee. There was some observation by the Director of Legal Services. So please ensure the committee meets quickly so that they can bring it back to us next week so we can pass it. All right, thank you. Can go back to tea room now. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, relying on our standing order 1B, Mr. President, I wish to rearrange the order paper. The fifth order of the day now becomes the second order, and this is because of the importance of the committee's report, that is the appropriations report on budget of security agencies. Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the second order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Appropriations on the budget of security agencies for the 2019 general elections. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Danjuma Goje, Chairman of the committee, to first move the motion for the Senate to receive the report.
Senator David Moro. Senator Senator Danjuma Goje, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. I hereby move the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Operations on the budget of the security agencies for the 2019 general election. I so move.
Senator Abbott Akpan.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished and respected colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Appropriation on the budget of security agencies for the 2019 general elections. I so second, Mr. President.
Distinguished, those in favor that we do receive and consider the report on the Committee on Appropriations of the budget of security agencies for 2019 general election. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Danjuma, could you come and lead the report and then present?
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, I want the Senate to recall that this committee presented an interim report on the request of the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, on the environment of funds in 2018 Appropriation Act. The committee made recommendations on the annex component of the request to enable the election management body commence procurement of materials for the 2019 general elections, which the Senate approved on Thursday, 11th October 2018. However, in view of the fact that the request from Mr. President came as a holistic document for the conduct of the 2019 general elections, the committee deems it fit to appropriate and present this final report to
to cover all the components of the request. 2018 Appropriation Act Environment Supplementary Report request by Mr. President. The executive request for environment or the fund in the 2018 Appropriation Act in respect of the 2019 general elections from the combined reading of Mr. President's letters dated 11 July and 19 September 2018 is as shown in the table below. Total amount as per the table requested by Mr. President is the sum of 242,445,382,600 naira. So recommendations of the report of the committee. The committee, having considered the report of the subcommittees on ANEC, Security and Intelligence, Interior, and Police Affairs in respect of the positions for ANEC, NSA, and DSS, NSCDC, and NIS, and MPF respectively, and having worked in conjunction with the House of Representatives Committee on Appropriations, including the other relevant House subcommittees, and working out the details of the request, recommends as follows. 1. That the aggregate sum of 242,245,050,100 naira be approved as environment for the 2019 general elections for ANEC and the above named security agencies, which will increase the 2018 budget of agencies as shown below. It is summarized there on page 3. 2. Source of funding. The source of fund be sourced from both the current and capital components of Special Intervention Program captured in the service-wide votes of 2018 Appropriation Act as indicated in the table below. The table below is showing the Appropriation Act as passed by the Senate to the tune of 500 billion naira, and the environment proposed total involved is 242,245,050,100 naira, leaving a balance for the Social Intervention Fund in sum of 257,754,949,900 naira. 3. That the attached detailed schedule to the report also be approved. 4. Prayer. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate do consider the report of the committee and approve the recommendations. Conclusion. On behalf of the Appropriations Committee, I wish to thank the Senate. I wish to thank the Senate President and the entire leadership of the Senate, as well as the relevant appropriations subcommittees for their cooperation and support for early consideration and presentation of this report. Thank you very much. I do hereby present the report for your consideration and approval.
Yes, Senator Barrow.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Barrow Jibrin, Electoral Act. Mr. President, I want to say, in view of the wonderful job that the Committee on Appropriation did in putting together this report, considering the fact that it worked with all the relevant committees in the Senate, as well as it also worked with the House Committee on Appropriations for 3 days in getting to this position that I just submitted. And a wonderful job has been done. Apart from showing, giving approval, recommending approval for the money requested, the committee went further to show where the divine money will come from. It is a wonderful job, well put together, very encompassing. It includes includes everything that needs to be stated in order for one to understand what's going on in this exercise. I therefore urge my colleagues to give the necessary approval so that this report will be passed, and then these agencies will have the money to prosecute the 2019 election as requested by Mr. President. I so submit, Mr. President.
Senator Albert.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished and respected colleagues, Mr. President, I rise to support the submissions of the Chairman of the Appropriation Committee and my brother, Senator Jibrin, on the enormous work that the Committee on Appropriation has done in putting forward this request, in line with the request of Mr. President to ensure a hitch-free elections come 2019. Mr. President, I also wish to state that this report takes cognizance of the fact that the contributions and the submissions of our colleagues in the House of Representatives is also part of the input that has led to this comprehensive work that has been done by the Senate Committee on Appropriation. I therefore wish to support the submissions that the Senate do consider and approve this report to ensure a hitch-free elections come 2019 as requested by Mr. President. Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President, and God bless you.
Senator Gemadi.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Barnabas Gemade. I represent Benue Northeast Senatorial District. Mr. President, I rise to join my colleagues in commending the Appropriation Committee for a speedy job and also for carrying out this difficult job in a manner that satisfies all expectations of both the lawmakers and the implementers of law. The proposal for the supplementary budget for election came in quite late. In fact, less than a week to when we will vacate on our official pre-arranged vacation. And the whole nation was awash with media publications of how insensitive the National Assembly was in dealing with the budget, not remembering the fact that it was already known 4 years ago that this election will take place in 2019. And those who should propose a budget for it did not do so until a couple of weeks to our vacation. I'm happy that the Senate and the House of Representatives stood their ground to ensure that the executive branch carries on with their normal business in the manner that they needed to do, irrespective of the handling of this budget. And today, we have come to a stage where this budget is passed in due time for them to carry out their responsibilities. I'm particularly happy with the provisions of environment. This issue is always a contentious issue. Whenever the executive is proposing supplementary budgets, they always make recommendations of environment on projects which are sensitive to other branches of government. This time, the Appropriation Committee has carefully looked at it and decided that they will limit environment to service-wide vote, which is a vote that is non-definitive, a vote that is normally handled by the executive branch of government without due and detailed explanation to lawmakers. This, in fact, is a very germane way of dealing with the naughty issue, and it's also an eye-opener for the executive branch to know that in the future, whatever they would like to manipulate, they should limit and restrict their manipulations within the areas of their own total control. With these few remarks, I proceed to recommend to our colleagues that this budget proposal be now approved. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, Senator Samigu.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Senator Sam Egu. I represent Ebonyi North Senatorial District. Mr. President, I want to refer us to page 3 of this document. Under the first table that deals with the total 2018 Appropriation Act, the calculation is wrong. The calculation there is wrong, Mr. President. Under the security agencies, the total figure should have been 831,259,222,256 and not 255. That is the observation I made here. The collection should be noted, Mr. President.
Okay. Any other correction? Others put up I'll put the question in. Those in favor of the recommendation that the Senate do consider the report of the committee, those in favor of recommendation 1, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of recommendation 2, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. I want to thank the committee on appropriations for turning the report. What's it? And then sorry, third recommendation that the attached schedule report be approved. Those in favor of recommendation 3 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you very much, Senate Committee on Appropriations. We finally have done to pass this request on the supplementary request for the INEC and the security agencies. I hope with this that those respective agencies will do what is required in ensuring that we have a credible, safe election in 2019, and also the agencies will play their own role in ensuring that they act professionally during this period. Yes, Senate.
Order, please. Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues. The third order of the day is the consideration of the report of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters on the screening of Senator Abba Haji and Mr. Mohamed Sagir for appointment as members non-legal of the Federal Judicial Service Commission. Distinguished senators will recall that the report of the committee was laid on Wednesday, the 10th of October, 2018. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator David Umaru, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the consideration of the report.
Senator David Umaru.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is David Umaru. I represent Niger East Senatorial District. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to move that the Senate do consider the report of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters on the confirmation of nomination of Senator Abba Ali and Mr. Mohamed Sagir for appointment as members non-legal of the Federal Judicial Service Commission. I so move.
Senator Clifford Odia.
Mr. President, I rise to second the motion ably moved by Chairman Senate Committee on Judiciary. I so second.
The Senator, those in favor that the Senate do consider the report of the Committee on Judiciary and Human Rights on the confirmation and nomination of Senator Abba Haji and Mohamed Sagir for appointment of members of Federal Judicial Service Commission. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator David Moore, present your report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, this is a report of the Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters on the confirmation of nominations of Senator Abba Ali and Mohammed Sagir for appointment as members non-legal of the Federal Judicial Service Commission. The Senate will recall that at its plenary sitting on Wednesday, 18th July 2018, the request by Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces for the confirmation of nominations of Senator Abba Ali and Mohammed Sagir as members non-legal of the Federal Judicial Service Commission was considered. The nominations were made pursuant to Section 154, subsections 1 and 3, in conformity with paragraph 12F of the third schedule to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, which enjoins Mr. President to appoint, and I quote, 2 other persons not being legal practitioners who, in the opinion of the President, are of unquestionable integrity, subject to confirmation of such appointment by this distinguished Senate. After deliberations on the executive communication, the Senate referred it to the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters, via order of referral dated 19th July 2018 for further legislative action and to report back with its recommendations. With the permission of Mr. President, I will go to the recommendation. The methodology is as indicated, and the screening exercise is also indicated on page 2, background and work experience in page 3, and the actual screening exercise is also indicated. I will go to recommendations and observation that the committee made the following observation. 1, that the appointment of the nominee satisfied the requirement of paragraph 12F of the text schedule to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended on the appointment of members non-legal of the Federal Judicial Service Commission being persons of unquestionable integrity. 2, that the nominees, Senator Abba Ali and Mr. Mohammed Sagir, are fit and proper persons for appointment as members non-legal Federal Judicial Service Commission. 3, that there is no petition against the appointment of the nominees as members of the Commission, and that 4, there is no adverse report against the nominees, as record checks and other forms of investigation by the security agencies did not reveal any negative trace against them. Recommendation. The Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters, having screened the nominees and being satisfied about their integrity, experience, performance, qualification, and competence, hereby recommends that the Senate do confirm the nominations of Senator Abba Ali and Mr. Mohammed Sagir for appointment as members non-legal of the Federal Judicial Service Commission. And I so move. Thank you, Mr. President.
Any comments? If there are no comments, so then we'll resolve committee of the whole. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate resolves into committee of the whole to consider the report.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I second the motion.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that resolve committee of the whole, say aye. Those against, say nay. Ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, if there are no objection, I'll just go straight to put the question. Will the Senate approve the nomination of Senator Abaraji as a member non-legal of Federal Judicial Service Commission? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Will the Senate approve the nomination of Mohammed Sagir also as a member non-legal Federal Judicial Service Commission? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. Chairman, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate reverse plenary for the chair to report progress.
I second the motion as moved, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. That is it. Senator Baba, I will report you to leader. You are distracting the presiding officer. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters on the screening of Mr. President's nominees for appointment as members non-legal of the Federal Judicial Service Commission, and I approve the nomination of Senator Abba Aji and Senator Senator Abba Ali and Mr. Mohammed Sagri as members non-legal of the Federal Judicial Service Commission. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? I'll now put the question for confirmation. Will the Senate confirm the nomination of Senator Abba Ali as a member non-legal Federal Judicial Service Commission? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination of Senator Abba Ali is hereby confirmed as member non-legal Federal Judicial Service Commission. Will the Senate confirm the nomination of Mohammed Sagri as member of the Federal Service Commission? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination of Mr. Mohammed Sagri is hereby confirmed as a member non-legal of the Federal Judicial Service Commission. On behalf of the Senate, I'd like to congratulate the two gentlemen and wish them a successful tenure in their service to the country. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that we stand down the consideration of the fourth and fifth items on the order paper as requested by the two chairmen. Therefore, move that the Senate considers those in another legislative date.
Chairman, do you have a reason why the chairman wants us to stand down? Any particular reason, or when do they hope? Especially to do with the one on migrants and internally displaced persons bills.
Yeah, presently Senator Abdulaziz, the chairman, is not in. And Senator Polka can explain his position.
Mr. President, we'll take it next week.
All right, thank you.
Mr. President, I support the motion as moved by the leader.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of this motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the 6th to the 11th orders of the day are House bills for concurrence as listed on the order paper. Distinguished senators will recall that these bills were read the first time in this chamber on Wednesday, the 18th of July 2018, Tuesday, the 7th of March 2017, Wednesday, the 18th of April 2018, Tuesday, the 3rd of July 2018, and Tuesday, the 17th of April 2018, respectively. Mr. President, for the simple nature of the amendments, I will use a single lead debate on these bills. But before then, Mr. President, let me say that we will stand down deliberations on the first item. That is a bill for an act to repeal the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria Act, Cap F16. This is to allow our Committee on Housing to take a second look at the bill. Thank you.
Mr. President, I support the motion as moved.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate can proceed.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, permit me to lead the debate on the following bills from the House of Representatives for our concurrence. Number 1, rearranged Engineering Registration, etc. Act Amendment Bill 2018, HB 1092. 2, Chartered Institute of Commodity Brokers of Nigeria, Establishment, etc. Bill 2018, HB 528. 3, Immigration Act Amendment Bill 2018, HB 480. 4, Small and Medium Scale Development Agency Act 2003, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2018, HB 803. And 5, Fisheries Institute of Nigeria, Establishment, etc. Bill 2018, HB 595. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, the Engineering Registration, etc. Act Amendment Bill 2018 was read the first time in this chamber on Wednesday, the 18th of July, 2018. This bill seeks to amend the Engineers Registration, ETC Act, Cap E11 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, to broaden the powers of the Council and its registrar and recognition of the diversity of engineering profession to provide for engineering regulation monitoring amongst others. Chartered Institute of Commodity Brokers of Nigeria, Establishment, etc. Bill 2018, HB 528, was read the first time in this chamber on Tuesday, the 3rd of July 2018. This bill seeks to establish a Chartered Institute of Commodity Brokers with the responsibility of ensuring that standards of knowledge and skill is attained by persons seeking to become members of the commodity brokerage profession. Also to conduct professional examinations leading to the award of certificates as may be prescribed by the Institute and collaborate with other institutes anywhere in the world to ensure the furtherance, maintenance, and observance of ethical standards and professionalism among practitioners of the commodity brokerage profession in Nigeria. The Immigration Act Amendment Bill 2018, HB 480, was read the first time in this chamber on Wednesday, the 18th of April, 2018. This bill seeks to amend the Immigration Act to make further provisions to restrict and regulate the issuance of work permit to foreign nationals and expatriates, thereby creating employment opportunity for Nigerian youths. The Small and Medium Scale Development Agency Act 2003, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2018, HB 803, was read the first time in this chamber on Tuesday, the 3rd of July 2018. This bill seeks to establish the Small and Medium Enterprise Development Agency of Nigeria, SMEDEN, to regulate, oversee, coordinate, monitor, and evaluate the developmental activities and operations of the micro, small, and medium enterprises in Nigeria, and provide a regulatory and institutional framework for rural industrialization, poverty alleviation and eradication, technology acquisition and adaptation, job creation, and sustainable livelihood in Nigeria, among others. The Fisheries Institute of Nigeria, Establishment, etc. Bill 2018, HB 595, was read the first time in this chamber on Tuesday, the 17th of April 2018. This bill seeks to establish the Fisheries Institute of Nigeria, charged with the responsibility of registering and disciplining members of the profession. Mr. President, my distinguished and respected colleagues, these bills are not controversial and have gone through rigorous scrutiny and public hearings in the House of Representatives. I therefore urge you all to support the second reading of these bills. Thank you very much for your patience.
Mr. President, I rise to second the motion as read by the Senate leader. And I pray, Mr. President, that as we go through this to get the bills passed, they don't get returned to us by the executive under any flimsy reason. Thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, if there are no other comments, general contribution, I'll put this question so that this bill can be read the second time. Those in favor that this bill now be read the second time, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Mr. President, distinguished senators, the bill for an act to amend the Engineers Registration etc. Act, Cap E11, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and for other matters connected therewith, 2018, second reading.
A bill for an act to amend the Engineers Registration etc. Cap E11, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and for other matters connected therewith, 2018, is read the second time. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the Chartered Institute of Commodity Brokers of Nigeria and for related matters, 2018, second reading.
A bill for an act to establish Chartered Institute of Commodity Brokers of Nigeria and for related matters 2018 is read the second time. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Immigration Act 2015 to make further provisions to restrict and regulate the issuance of work permits to foreign nationals and for related matters 2018, second reading.
A bill for an act to amend the Immigration Act 2015 to make further provisions to restrict and regulate the issuance of work permit to foreign nationals for related matters 2018 is read the second time. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the bill for an act to repeal the Small and Medium Scale Industry Development Agency Establishment Act 2003 and to reenact the Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria and for other related matters 2018, second reading.
A bill for an act to repeal the Small and Medium Scale Industry Development Agency Establishment Act 2003 and to reenact the Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria and other related matters 2018 is read the second time. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish Fisheries Institute of Nigeria charged with the responsibility for registration and discipline of members of the profession and for related matters 2018, second reading.
A bill for an act to establish Fisheries Institute of Nigeria charged with responsibility for registration and discipline of members of the profession and for related matters 2018 is read for the second time. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, in accordance with our Order 81, subsection 1, I will move a motion for the bills to be referred to the Committee of the Whole. I so move.
I second the motion as moved by the leader.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, we have 5 bills. First one is the Engineering Registration Act Amendment Bill 2018. We have 19 clauses. Nothing controversial here, so I'm going to go through them. Clauses 1 to 10. Those in favor that this stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clauses 10 to 17. Those in favor that this stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Short title clause 18 and clause 18. Those in favor that clause 18 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. As have it. Short title clause 19 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. As have it. Schedule 1 and 3 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Explanatory memorandum on page 10 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Long title on page 1 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. The next bill is the Chartered Institute of Commodity Brokers of Nigeria. 20 clauses here. Again, there's nothing controversial here, so I'm going to move swiftly through. Those in favor of clause 1 to 10 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor of clauses 11 to 19 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor of short title clause 20 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor of long title page 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor of schedules 1 and 2 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. The next bill is the Bill on Immigration Act Amendment Bill 2018. There are only 4 clauses here. Those in favor of clauses 1 to 3 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor of short title clause 4 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor of the long title on page 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor of the explanation memorandum on page 2 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. The next bill is the Bill on Small and Medium Scale Development Agency Act 2003 Repeal and Enactment Bill. There are 49 clauses here. Those in favor of clause 1 to 10 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of clauses 11 to 20 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of clause 21 to 30 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of clause 31 to 40 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of clause 41 to 48 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of short title clause 49 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of the long title on page 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of schedule 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of the explanatory memorandum on page 31 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The last one is the Fishery Institute of Nigeria, established under Bill 2018. There are 26 clauses here. Again, nothing controversial, so I'll move swiftly through it. Those in favor of clauses 1 to 10 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of clauses 11 to 20 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of clauses 21 to 25 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of clause 26 short title stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the schedule 1 to 2 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of explanatory memorandum page 19 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of long title on page 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of Senate.
Mr. Chairman, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate reverse plenary for the charge report progress.
Second is moved, Mr. President.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the Committee of the Whole consider the Engineering Registration and Sector Act Amendment Bill 2018 and approved as follows. Clause 1 to 19 as recommended, Schedule 1 to 3 as recommended, explanatory Explanatory memorandum as recommended, short title as recommended, long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the committee on the whole? Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the committee on the whole considered the Chartered Institute of Commodity Brokers of Nigeria, establishment, etc. by 2018, and approved as follows. Clauses 1 to 20 as recommended, Schedule 1 to 2 as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended, short title as recommended, long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the committee of the whole? The Senate in the committee of the whole considered the Immigration Act Amendment Bill 2018 and approved as follows. Clauses 1 to 4 as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended, short title as recommended, long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the committee of the whole? The Senate in the committee of the whole considered the Small and Medium Scale Development Agency Act 2003, repeal and reenactment bill 2018 are approved as follows. Clauses 1 to 49 as recommended, Schedule 1 as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended, short title as recommended, long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the committee of the whole? The Senate in the committee of the whole considered the Fishery Institute of Nigeria, established etc. Bill 2018 are approved as follows. Clauses 1 to 26 as recommended, Schedules 1 to 2 as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended, short title as recommended, long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the committee of the whole? Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues. Having concluded today's...
No. We have to do third reading.
Confused by the minority leader. She was insisting we must close and go. Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues.
It's Madam PDP, take time.
Oh, I will always be here, PDP. Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the bills be now read the third time.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I support the motion as moved by the Senate leader.
Distinguished colleagues, I want to put the questions. Those in favor that this bill be now read the third time, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the bill for an act to amend the Engineering Registration, etc. Act, Cap E 11, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and for other matters connected therewith 2018, third reading.
The bill for an act to amend the Engineers Registration, etc. Act, Cap E11, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and for other matters connected therewith 2018 is read the third time and passed. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the bill for an act to establish the Chartered Institute of Commodity Brokers of Nigeria and for related matters 2018, third reading.
A bill for an act to establish the Chartered Institute of Commodity Brokers of Nigeria and for related matters 2018 is now read the third time and passed. Clerk of Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Immigration Act 2015 to make further provisions to restrict and regulate the issuance of work permits to foreign nationals and for related matters 2018, third reading.
A bill for an act to amend the Immigration Act 2015 to make further provisions to restrict and regulate the issuance of work permits to foreign nationals and for related matters is read the third time and passed. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to repeal the Small and Medium Scale Industries Development Agency Establishment Act 2003 and to reenact the Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agencies of Nigeria and other related matters 2018, third
reading.
A bill for an act to repeal the Small and Medium Scale Industry Development Agency Establishment Act 2003 and to reenact the Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria and other related matters 2018 is read a third time and passed. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish Fishery Institute of Nigeria charged with the responsibility for registration and discipline of members of the profession and for related matters 2018, third reading.
A bill for an act to establish Fisheries Institute of Nigeria charged with responsibility for registration and discipline of members of the profession and for related matters is read a third time and passed. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Very distinguished and respected colleagues. With this, we have come to the end of today's proceedings, having concluded on all the items on the order paper. I hereby happily move that the Senate adjourns till tomorrow, Wednesday, the 17th of October 2018 at 10 a.m. prompt.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I second the motion as moved by the Senate leader.
Distinguished colleagues, before I put the question, let me just announce the committee to look into this issue of the subsidy, petroleum subsidy by NNPC, also to look at the original reports and work already done by both respective committees of audit and also downstream. I have Senator Yusuf, Senator Babak Kaka, Senator Sam Mayam, Matthew Rukidi, Benga Shefa, Philip Aduda, Rosoko, Bina Ogbagbala and Dada, Abu Kiaris, Senator Gobri and Senator Dinimlaya under the supervision of the Senate leader. I put the question, those in favor that we adjourn to Wednesday 17th, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate is here accordingly adjourned to Wednesday 17th October 2018, 10 a.m. prompt.
Only one side.
Very good. Oh, let me just.
Just for clarity, the members of this committee are Senator Yusuf, Senator Babakaka, Senator Samayao, Matthew Rukidi, Benga Shafa, Philip Aduda, Rose Oko, Obinagba, Senator
Bola and Dada, Abu Kiari, Senator Dinimlaya, Senator Gobri, under the leadership of the Senate leader.
ready?
We're ready. It's just 2 minutes.
What is your problem?
From the studio. We are being controlled from the studio.
Okay.
It's running live now.
Was
all
it
over
live?
the country. We are seeing you. All right. You must agree with me that it has been, of course, an inspiring moment and an intellectual moment with the legislators who have always want to see better Nigeria. I have here with me, of course, a renowned distinguished senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that will be talking more on this appropriation bill. Distinguished, I want to first of all applaud you because you have worked tirelessly to see that the 2019 general election is a success. And you have tried to see that everything is put in place so that we would not, get to see some challenges. But distinguished, are you optimistic, or are you sure that this huge amount appropriated for this 2019 election will actually satisfy the INEC requirements?
Yeah, you see the budget which we just approved is not only for INEC, it also covers the security aspect of the general elections. That's why we also allocated money, appropriated money to agencies like the police, the DSS, the NSS office, the immigration services, civil defense, and other security agencies. We believe that this amount which Mr. President requested, which was given as requested, which was appropriated as requested by Mr. President, is sufficient enough to take care of the 2019 general elections. I'm very confident that this money will be enough.
What promise do you expect from the security agencies?
We expect that having been funded fully by government, these agencies are expected to ensure that elections are conducted peacefully and freely throughout the country.
Well, thank you so very much. You've heard from distinguished Senator Guje Danjuma, who has actually spoken on what we should be expecting in 2019 general election. Well, it's on this note, we want to especially thank you for being with us. We'll expect that tomorrow at same time and, of course, same platform, you'll be with us. I remain Christy Ewudage saying God bless you.